What's going on, everybody? It's your man Zoe Brown, and welcome back to the class, where we are a distinguished group of businessmen, educators, and entrepreneurs. Here on my left, we got Keenan Gray, who is a minister and an educator. Here on my right, we got Eric Boomtown Fitness, who is an all-around entrepreneur. And right here, we got my man Dan Langlitz, who is an advertising professional. Today, we are talking about networking, and even more importantly, fellas, how do you master the art of the meet and greet? How do you actually go and make your networking purposeful and just don't end up standing by the snack bar for the whole night?
Hey, I think you got to know what you're in it for, right? You need to know what you're trying to get out of this. So maybe you make a list and say, I'm not leaving this networking event without talking to these 3 people,
right,
or discussing these 3 things with somebody. So I think that's part of it. You have to have an agenda, and you have to go in with a purpose.
For me, when I go into a networking event, because I do a lot of different things, I kind of just try to hone in, okay, I'm here for this reason, for that purpose. Maybe I'm doing something with fitness, maybe I'm doing something with photography, making sure that you're on board with that. And then always, a simple reminder, sometimes my business card is my reminder to me what I'm there for.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, well, this is what I'm here for, make sure I get those things out. And make sure I'm clear, concise, and also following up with everybody that you network with.
I'm glad you mentioned business cards. Should you go and just be giving out your business card to everybody, like passing out flyers?
You know who it is you're speaking to. You know that this gentleman is going to be some form of keep in touch with.
Right.
Or I can refer this gentleman to someone else.
Ooh, stay there. That's the strategy that you just mentioned. Refer this gentleman to something else. Listen, when people do that, if you refer me to him in a room when we're at a networking event, it makes him look like the leader in the room. He's talking to me, he connected to me, he remembered my name, he remembered what I said that I do. Hey, Lorenzo, let me introduce you to Dan. Lorenzo does this. This is Dan. And then now you've just became a connector, and then you can step out in the picture and go network with something else. And that's actually a strategy that it kind of makes you look like the leader in the room, and it shows people that, you know what? I'm actually listening.
Yeah.
I'm guilty. Sometimes somebody can tell me their name and I can forget it right afterwards. That means I wasn't listening. But when you remember somebody's name, you made a purposeful decision in your mind. Okay, he said his name is Dan. I'm going to remember this. So now I can easily introduce Dan to Eric.
Right.
And I just made a connection.
Yeah.
And I'm not there just for myself, but I'm there to also help and connect other people.
Yeah, chances are whenever you're networking, there's a common interest between everybody that's there.
Right.
And it's not just a hodgepodge of people from all different fields, right? I think it's generally people gathering around a common cause or field or profession.
I think for some people, for a lot of people, even for myself, somebody who has networked a lot, there's like a level of anxiety that comes up, especially if I go into a networking event by myself, out of state or out of town. It's like, okay, where do I get started? There's a room full of people, and we may have something in common, but how do I make that initial step? How do you guys go out about making that initial step, or do you wait till people come for you? Like I often do. Sometimes I'll wait, and then somebody will speak to me, and then that gets me out of my zone. But how do you just get yourself out of the zone?
You gotta just go in there with a hint of boldness, like you put sugar in your coffee. You gotta put some boldness in your cup and just say, all right. And then have a couple trial conversations, something that kind of like when you're going over a script.
What's the one thing that people like to do?
Talk about themselves.
Talk about themselves. Get them to start talking about themselves. Then you can switch the conversation to other directions without them even necessarily knowing it. Because they already opened up, and now they're free for conversation and you're free for conversation.
Right.
And normally, when people see you engaging and they're seeing that lightheartedness, they want to engage with you. They're attracted to the energy that you're giving off.
Right.
And that's what you have to do. You have to be able to regulate the energy you're giving off to draw people in.
Right. One of the things that you definitely want to avoid is not truly giving someone your attention. And I'm speaking from personal experience. There's been times I've been at networking events and people will start to talk to me and engage in me, and then they'll all of a sudden get distracted and start talking to somebody else, like literally while I'm talking. And I'm like, okay, I definitely don't want to connect with that person now. But the thing about it, you might want to connect with that person initially, and then you feel like kind of brushed off. How do you handle that without like chasing them around the room? Like, just say if I came to this networking event to speak to Dan, and I go speak to Dan, but Eric's in his ear and Keenan is in his ear, and then your attention is divided. What do you do to recover from that? Like, do you stand like a kitten outside of a food store, like waiting for your piece, waiting for your turn? Do you politely bow out? Do you wait around? Like what are some strategies, to recover from an experience like that?
Yeah, for me, I think of everything like an athlete. So I play football. Very rarely when you're, I want to say, running the ball, do you just go straight. Sometimes you got to go left, you got to go right, you got to dodge a couple people. And that's how I look at it when I'm networking. If I know there's one person I really want to talk to, you kind of just have to work your way through the crowd.
I like that strategy of kind of reading the room, feeling out the person, right? Just like you would feel out your opponent or whatever in sports, and waiting for your moment. And so I think I like to be patient. So if I recognize that that's happening, I might listen in on the conversations. You can be strategic about, well, what have they already talked about with other people? What does it seem like they like to talk about? And then you can angle in that way by standing back a little bit, not totally on the sidelines, but kind of being smart about taking your time and waiting.
I don't want to talk to 8 different people at one time.
Right.
I want to have a conversation with one person, and that's what I want someone to give to me.
Right.
A nice, engaging conversation with one person.
Yeah.
We can actually get intimate, and I can know exactly who you are, you know who I am, and that can turn into a lot of different opportunities, especially when we're talking about networking.
Yeah.
I don't remember 8 people surrounding me.
Right.
I remember that one person who engaged me.
So when you're out networking, you want to make sure that networking experience is purposeful, and make sure that you know how to bow out gracefully when you need to, but come back when you have a specific goal in mind. Networking is an art form, and you too can master this. This is the class, and I'll see you next time.